it begs the question, like, am I ever going to sell this Bitcoin to buy a house, or am I just going to stay renting, or am I just going to stay in this thing? Because Bitcoin does give you that escape, but it's almost as if it's a very stupid idea to do so. So, what are your thoughts on that? Like, does it come to a point where you're just like, Nico, you know what? Just take 10% off your stack. Just buy a house. Reach that peace of mind, or do you just recommend against that completely? Do you think that eventually, I was talking to CJ the other day, and he was talking about releasing a product where essentially you're able to collateralize your Bitcoin, use that as a backing to essentially get, to use that to, as a collateral to mortgage a home. What would your advice be to people, especially our age? Because of course, you used to be able to buy a house in your 20s, but with all the manipulation of the financial system and money and the 2008 financial crisis, I think the very idea of owning a home is out of the hands of most people, in most millennials, I'll say, and then Gen Zers, it's completely gone. Forget about it. It's like, I feel like that generation is just the way that the system has treated that generation. It's like they're destined to be, essentially just like, I heard a broadcaster say this the other day, like Russian serfs. Even their own, even the propaganda coming out of the Contillionaire Conference, aka the World Economic Forum, they're even telling you you'll own nothing and be happy. They're trying to normalize this in your head. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think I think everyone needs a home, right? Especially when you have a family. I think everyone needs a home where you can build from, where you can go to war from, where you can go and attack the world from. However, the flip side of that is the world is changing so fast. Like, for example, right? I moved part of the reason why I moved to Dubai was that it sort of was like looking like it was going to be the Bitcoin future country, right? They were gonna be super advanced on Bitcoin. They were going to lead the way, et cetera, a few years ago. A few years ago, we would have never guessed that the United States of America was going to be the premier jurisdiction for Bitcoin and digital assets. But that happened, right, in a very short period of time. So I think that buying a house is fine, and I think everyone should get a house, especially once you have a family. But you have to balance this idea of like, well, what if the sea just completely changes? Like, what happens if, am I going to be trapped by this house in an environment which is not conducive anymore for my progression, right, or the progression of my children, right? In your case, what you're going through. So I would say there's multiple layers to that question. For example, I would much prefer, if I was going to choose to buy a home, I would much prefer to choose to buy a home somewhere in America or Dubai than the United Kingdom, which is my home country, right? Because the sea has completely changed. Now, what happens in 10 years if the United Kingdom figures its shit out and now says, right, we're going to completely just open up on Bitcoin and becomes the premier Bitcoin jurisdiction inside of Europe? Like, what happens in that scenario? So now I've got this house, and the question I got to ask myself is, by buying that house, am I now trapping myself to being in this jurisdiction? Because I think one of the biggest advantages of this world that we live in is being able to move jurisdictions and get closer to the action within practically the speed of light, right? Bitcoin allows us that. Um, all of these things change depending on whether you have family, how old your children are, et cetera, et cetera. But I think being able to move around, being able to be flexible, being able to take advantage of different situations and different developments that happen is going to be the superpower, because proximity is power in every scenario. So the fact that, one of the reasons why I made the trip to the party that we were at, one of the reasons why I wanted to meet you was because we've done some work together on YouTube. But guess what? Proximity is power. FaceTime is important. No matter what we think about each other on over the camera, in person, you can really feel someone's energy, right? And That's what it's about. And I would highly urge people to really think about that when it comes to buying a house. It's like, can you just wait? Because you don't know what's going to happen in 5 or 10 years. If you can just wait 5 or 10 years, I think you should. Because I think that in 10 years, the future of Bitcoin is going to be pretty much set, right? We're going to know exactly what's going to happen. Right
Yeah.
now, there's so much new things happening, right? So I will buy a house at some point. I will not consider it part of my investment portfolio, but I want to wait till the right opportune moment to do that. And I don't think that's this moment in time.
Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be part of your investment portfolio. It should be a utility, right? And then again, the system has Frankensteined it from a utility to an investment vehicle, which it shouldn't be, right?
Right.
So yeah, I think that's great advice, right? And I agree. I think if you have the time, and I know a lot of Bitcoiners are in their 20s, like just wait it out and hold it down and delay that gratification. Need liquidity without having to sell your Bitcoin? For more than 6 years now, Ledn has been the trusted choice for Bitcoin backed lending with transparency, security, and trust at their core. I absolutely love these guys, and I personally have not only an account with them, but also a loan. And some of the key features that I love about Ledn is the fact that there are no monthly payments. You pay at the end of the term. You also have the ability to roll over the loan as well, and you can pay it back whenever you want. Essentially, what they do is that they help their clients unlock the liquidity of their BTC, allowing you to hodl while still accessing the wealth of your Bitcoin. They've been battle tested with their focus on transparency, security, and trust, allowing them to build a proven track record of client success and security, helping tens of thousands of clients harness the value of their digital assets with confidence and peace of mind. Learn more about what your BTC can do for you. Check out ledn.io today.